Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source materials and really just plunge right into the knowledge they hold.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Today, we are strapping on our star-shaped glasses, tuning our antennas to the mothership, because we are embarking on a truly cosmic exploration of William Earl Bootsy Collins.
Oh, yeah. This is a deep dive into a real innovator. I mean, his fingerprints are just everywhere. You look at the tight discipline funk of the 70s all the way to, like, the architecture of modern hip-hop.
Totally.
Bootsy Collins is, well, he's more than just a musician. He's like the foundational architect of the low end, turning soul into pure spectacle.
Exactly. And that's our mission today, right? To unpack the sources that chronicle this magnificent transformation. How does this incredibly talented teenage rhythm master from Cincinnati find his groove under probably the toughest taskmaster in music history, then morph into this psychedelic cosmic phenomenon and finally end up as this revered mentor and activist? It's quite a story.
It really is. And when you talk about the greats, the pantheon of bass players, Collins isn't just there. He's like paramount. We got to start with just the sheer recognition he gets.
Okay.
Like, in 2020, Rolling Stone didn't just put him high on the list. They ranked him number 4 in their 50 greatest bassists of all time.
Wow, number 4 globally, period. And that's, separate from all the group honors.
Right.
Like being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. That was as part of Parliament-Funkadelic, right?
Right.
Which is a huge group.
Oh, massive. 16 members inducted, I think. And his genres alone tell a story. Cool. Funk, psychedelic soul, R&B, hip-hop. It's a lifetime of just bending and blending genres.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, to understand the cosmic star, you really do have to go back to that rigorous school of rhythm you came through.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where did the legend actually begin?
It starts in Cincinnati, Ohio, born there in 1951. And he's got one of the best origin stories for a stage name. The nickname Bootsy, it wasn't some calculated marketing thing. He confirmed his mom gave it to him, just looked at him and said, basically, you looked like a Bootsy.
Huh, just like that.
Just like that. And that kind of spontaneity, it's actually a beautiful preview of the funk freedom he'd later embody.
That makes sense. And that family connection, that was really key early on, wasn't it? Playing with his older brother, the guitarist Phelps Catfish Collins.
Yeah, Catfish. 8 years older, born in 43. So it wasn't just some random band. It was literally a family rhythm section right from the start. By 1968, that core group had formed the Pacemakers. That's Bootsy, Catfish, and drummer Frankie Kashwati. They were tight, they were hungry, definitely respected locally.
Right.
But their path took this hard left turn into the deep end of the music world in March 1970. And that kicks off our first major section. The School of Soul Power, the James Brown Apprenticeship.
Okay, the James Brown era. This is where that legendary precision gets hammered in.
Yeah.
We hear the story all the time. James Brown's previous band basically just walked out over a pay dispute.
Exactly, staged a walkout. And the Pacemakers, they were just there, ready-made, tight, rehearsed. They stepped right into that huge void and immediately became Brown's new backing band, the famous original JBs.
The JBs, wow.
And rigorous, I mean, that word barely covers it. Bootsy's time with Brown was a crucible. It's kind of crazy because the lineup only lasted 11 months. Less than a year.
Only 11 months.
Yeah, but in that short time, they created some of Brown's most genre-defining, just intense funk recordings. These tracks weren't just hits. They were like instructions for the next 50 years of music.
We're talking about the engine behind stuff that's now just fundamental. Get up, I feel like being a sex machine, super bad, soul power, talking loud and saying nothing. And those instrumentals like the grunt, which, my God, hip-hop producers sampled that for decades.
For decades. And what's really fascinating about those specific recordings is how Bootsy's approach was different from the bassists Brown had before him.
How so?
Well, up until then, Brown's rhythm section was often really, really percussive. The bass and drums were almost like another rhythm guitar and conga set, super focused on just keeping time, locking it down.
Yeah.
Bootsy brought this revolutionary level of syncopation and fluidity. He was technically brilliant, using ghost notes, slurred rhythms, but still locking into that impossibly tight groove.
So he's innovating within this super strict structure.
Exactly. He transformed the groove, but he had to do it under intense pressure. And to really get that pressure, we have to talk about the core concept of funk, the thing that defined his whole apprenticeship. The elusive one.
Ah, yes.
The one.
Absolutely. The term "the one" is so central to Bootsy's whole story, we probably need to pin down what it means.
Good idea. In music, Especially funk and R&B, the one is the first downbeat of the measure.
Right.
Most music builds tension towards the end of a phrase, maybe. But funk is unique. The whole groove, the whole feel is built around that first beat. It's the anchor.
Okay.
If you hit the one, right, everything just locks in. It feels relentless, urgent.
And James Brown was the ultimate drill sergeant, making sure that urgency, that precision, was there every single night. The sources mentioned Bootsy saw Brown as a father figure, coming from a fatherless background.
Yeah, and that adds this whole other layer of weight to Brown's teaching methods. It wasn't just a boss, it was deeper.
Definitely.
It makes the whole thing more psychological than just professional. Bootsy often talked about the post-show routine. Brown would call them back every single night, give them a lecture, always criticizing the sound, never satisfied.
Always.
Pretty much always. The standard line was, "Nah, not on it, son. I didn't hear the one. You didn't give me the one." It was designed to just break down their egos, force them to rehearse constantly.
Wow. Relentless.
But the really crucial story, the one that kind of unlocks Brown's game, is when the opposite happened.
Right. I remember reading about this.
Yeah. Bootsy and Catfish talked about this one gig where they knew instinctively they were playing badly. Just exhausted, a bit sloppy, fundamentally off. They were bracing for the worst tongue lashing ever.
And instead,
Brown calls them back, smiles, and says, now that's what I'm talking about. Y'all was on it tonight. Y'all hit the one.
that must have messed with their heads completely, especially for musicians who trust their own instincts.
Totally. That was the light bulb moment. Bootsy realized Brown wasn't always critiquing the actual music. He was using reverse psychology. By constantly holding back praise, even when they nailed it, he forced them to internalize the criticism, practice like madmen, aim for this perfection that was always just out of reach.
Okay, I get it.
But then praising them when they knew they sucked, that maintained his control, made sure Bootsy never got complacent or thought he'd figured it all out.
That is a staggering way to learn. A foundation built on musical perfection through, like, intense psychological discipline.
Yeah.
It makes total sense of his next move, though. Exploding from that military rigor into, well, cosmic freedom.
Exactly. That transition defines everything that comes after. After the sheer intensity of the James Brown boot camp, Bootsy and Catfish briefly formed a band called the House Guests.
Okay.
But the real cosmic shift, the big one, happened when they got introduced to George Clinton. This was in Detroit, Michigan, around 1972.
And singer Malaya Franklin made that connection.
That's right. She orchestrated it. And suddenly, Bootsy, Catfish, and Waddy, that super tight JB's rhythm section, they joined Funkadelic.
Yeah.
And that was the exact moment the P-Funk Collective got its, indestructible, deep groove backbone.
You can really hear the shift in the sound.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to think about the cultural shift they went through personally. James Brown was disciplined, tailored suits, grounded in soul power. George Clinton was unhinged, flamboyant, launching into orbit with the mothership.
Total opposites, almost.
Pretty much. And Bootsy became totally integral to this new P-Funk universe. He was contributing bass, songwriting on most of the Parliament and Funkadelic albums right through the early 80s.
And they were putting out so much music, it almost needed its own dedicated vehicle, right? Which led to Bootsy's Rubber Band in '76.
Exactly. It was a distinct, separate touring and recording unit, but still very much part of the whole P-Funk thing.
Who was in the core Rubber Band lineup?
It featured that core trio, Bootsy, Catfish, and Waddy, plus other key P-Funk players, and crucially, that phenomenal brass section, the Horny Horns.
The Horny Horns, great name.
Isn't it? The Rubber Band was maybe a bit more concentrated, arguably more commercially focused than some of the wilder P-Funk stuff. It mixed the collective psychedelia with Bootsy's own unique, kind of cartoonish humor.
And the success was pretty immediate, wasn't it? The sources call those first three albums quintessential P-Funk recordings.
Yeah, they really nailed it. And we have to talk about the peak of that run. The 1978 album, Bootsy, Player of the Year, it didn't just hit the R&B chart, it went to #1.
Wow.
And it gave us his signature #1 R&B single, Bootzilla. That track really cemented the whole persona. The myth became inseparable from the music itself.
Right. This is where the strict rhythm master fully transforms into the intergalactic superstar. George Clinton loved all that mythology, Dr. Funkenstein, the mothership.
Oh, yeah.
And Bootsy just dived right in, adopting all these alter egos.
He totally did. It was brilliant marketing, too. He was Casper the Funky Ghost, and his main alter ego was Bootzilla. The world's only rhinestone rock star monster of a doll, as he put it.
I love that description.
The whole character was built around this idea of an alien rock star, part superhero, part clown, just a central figure in the whole P-Funk cosmology.
And the gear. The gear became just as famous as the character. He adopted his trademark space bass around this time, starting with that first one, which looked futuristic but wasn't quite the star shape yet.
That's right. That first space bass was a custom build made up in Michigan. Mahogany body, maple neck, that cool mirror pickguard. You can see it right on the cover of the '76 album, stretching out in Bootsy's rubber band.
Oh, okay.
And what's really interesting is just his commitment to that instrument, like the story behind it.
It got stolen at one point.
Yeah, that original bass was actually stolen.
That's
It's been
wild.
devastating. But thankfully, the story goes, it was eventually found, like recovered at a pawn shop back in Cincinnati and returned to him.
Crazy. Good thing he got it back.
For sure. And that original model really paved the way for the instrument that everyone pictures when they hear Bootsy Collins. That iconic, custom-built, star-shaped bass guitar.
The space bass.
The space bass. That specific star bass was made for him later, though, in 1998 by a guy named Manuel Manny Salvador. It's just a pure statement piece.
You look at that star shape, and you have to wonder,
Hmm.
was it just about looking cool? Or did that unique shape, the sheer size of it, actually change the sound or how it played?
Well, primarily it's visual. It's pure spectacle, fits the whole cosmic theme.
Yeah.
Designed to be flashy, instantly recognizable on stage. You see that bass, you know who it is.
True.
Tonally, those custom builds were definitely engineered to get that thick, deep, resonant funk sound he's known for. But the star shape itself? That's a commitment to the performance. It proves that in P-Funk, the look, the visual presentation was just as vital as the low E string.
Yeah, the whole package. So the P-Funk years really cemented him as this innovator, this total showman. But the next phase of his career, I think, shows his true musical genius, his ability to collaborate and just refuse to be boxed in by genre.
Mm-hmm.
This takes us into the 80s and 90s, where he becomes like the ultimate collaborator.
Yeah, after that first wave of rubber band albums, the early 80s see him branching out, exploring production, doing more solo stuff. He released his solo album, Ultra Wave, in 1980.
Okay.
And crucially, he co-produced the debut album for Zapp. Remember Zapp? The P-Funk spin-off band with Roger Troutman?
Oh, absolutely. The Talkbox Kings, that Zapp connection is huge, isn't it? Because Zapp basically pioneered that heavy talkbox effect in funk, that distinctive robotic voice sound that really defined the West Coast sound for a while.
Exactly. So by co-producing their debut, Bootsy was directly involved in launching a whole new subgenre of funk. It connects his James Brown roots right through P-Funk to the rise of electro-funk. He was always pushing things forward.
Constantly evolving. And the mid-'80s brought some really unexpected stuff, didn't they? Like getting political through sound. That 1984 collaboration with Jerry Harrison from the Talking Heads.
Yeah, under the name Bonzo Goes to Washington.
Just the name itself is a pretty clear political jab at Reagan.
Oh, for sure. And the music reflected it. They did that track 5 Minutes, which was this dance record built around samples of Ronald Reagan's infamous "We begin bombing in 5 minutes" microphone gaffe.
Wow. That's pointed.
Very pointed, but wrapped up in this calculated electro-funk groove. It really showed Bootsy could use the power of funk rhythm not just for psychedelic fun, but for sharp political commentary and exploring these new dance textures.
That move towards electronic sounds, more calculated stuff, seems linked to his work with Bill Laswell, right? That partnership started around '88.
Yeah, the Bill Laswell partnership was huge. Laswell is known for really experimental, industrial, genre-mashing productions. And that partnership was fundamental to what the sources call Bootsy's new sound, a sound that really did foreshadow a lot of 90s music. Laswell encouraged him to blend his organic funk bass lines with, emerging electronic textures, industrial sounds, even early hip-hop techniques like scratching.
So albums like What's Bootsy Doing?
Yeah.
From '88. And Perfect Machine, also '88. They're really fusion experiments.
Totally. Perfect Machine especially. It had techno-funk elements, turntables for that scratch appeal, and even brought in smooth vocals from Leroy Sugarfoot Bonner of the Ohio Players. It felt like a conscious effort to keep funk relevant when synthesized pop and early house music were taking over.
And he wasn't just sticking to funk electronica either. He was popping up everywhere in rock and pop. Played bass on Keith Richards' solo album Talk Is Cheap in '88.
Yep, which shows his rhythm could just slide right into a blues rock thing, no problem. He also produced and played on tracks for Malcolm McLaren's album Waltz Darling in 1989. Eclectic choices.
Definitely. But I think for millions of people, like mainstream pop listeners, their big introduction to Bootsy, the cosmic funk master, was probably Deee-Lite's Groove is in the Heart in 1990.
Oh yeah, massive hit. And that collaboration has a classic bit of funk trivia attached to it.
Okay.
Collins did contribute those crucial extra vocals, the ad-libs. And really importantly, he's all over the music video playing his flamboyant bass, looking amazing.
Right, he's visually central to it.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the kicker. The detail that really shows his status have shifted. The actual bass line, that iconic driving groove in the recording, it's a sample.
No way. A sample of what?
Herbie Hancock's 1975 track, Bring Down the Birds.
Get out of here. So Bootsy's presence in the video is more about his image, his vibe.
Pretty much. It suggests that by 1990, Bootsy Collins, the persona, the visual embodiment of funk, the rhinestones, the swagger, the whole low-end authority thing, was so powerful that he was hired for his presence, maybe even more than his actual playing on that specific track.
Wow.
He brought the funk spirit, the visual legacy, while the track itself relied on a classic funk sample for the groove. And that brand power was so strong that Bootsy's rubber band actually became the backing band for Deee-Lite's world tour after that.
That's incredible. So his influence was just radiating out. Beyond pop, though, the 90s saw him dive into some heavier genre fusions, too, right? Like Hardware in 92?
Yeah, Hardware. That was a funk metal fusion group he formed with guitarist Stevie Salas and the legendary drummer Buddy Miles. They put out one album, Third Eye Open.
Funk metal. Makes sense, kind of.
And he kept exploring that heavier side with the supergroup Praxis. Played bass on their first album, Transmutation. That lineup was wild fellow P-Funk legend Bernie Worrell on keys and the completely out-there guitarist Buckethead.
Buckethead, wow. Talk about bridging generations and styles.
Right. It brought together the roots of funk with really aggressive experimental rock. He was also key in another supergroup, Axiom Funk, around 95, another Bill Laswell project. They did a huge remake of Jimi Hendrix's If 6 Was 9.
He just keeps popping up in these amazing collaborations.
And then, maybe the most brilliantly weird experiment of the whole decade, the Groovegrass Boys.
Groovegrass Boys, what is that?
Get this. Bootsy teamed up with actual bluegrass legends Del McCoury and Doc Watson to create a fusion of bluegrass and funk.
Bluegrass and funk. Seriously, why? Like, what was the idea there?
I think it goes back to his core philosophy. Funk isn't just a genre, it's a feel. It's a rhythmic approach. He was basically proving that that syncopated lock, could groove with anything. Bluegrass is super rhythmic, right? Driven by those acoustic strings. So by laying down his signature deep pocket bass lines and funk drumming underneath it, they created something totally new, proving the language of funk could translate, like, universally.
That's wild. Just refusing to be categorized. Okay, let's move into the new millennium. His influence gets recognized in different ways, leading us to Section 4, modern relevance, mentorship, and the big shift.
Yeah, and his voice itself, that playful, charismatic tenor, became a pop culture thing in the early 2000s, largely thanks to Fatboy Slim, the track Weapon of Choice from 2000.
Oh yeah, huge track. His lead vocals are unmistakable, especially that spoken word bit he delivers, the quote from Doom.
Walk without rhythm and you won't attract the worm. Iconic. And that track was massive commercially, won a Grammy for Best Music Video. It really cemented Bootsy's place in modern electronic music culture.
And he kept stretching into unexpected areas, collaborating with Christian rap artist Toby Mac on Diverse City in 2004.
That track helped the album win a Dove Award for Rap Hip Hop Album of the Year in 2005. His groove really had no boundaries, religious, stylistic, whatever.
But even with all this global cosmic stardom, he stayed really connected to his roots, didn't he? Especially Cincinnati. He seemed to really champion his hometown.
Oh, incredibly strong ties. He used his fame to be like a local hero, a civic figure almost. In 2005, he co-wrote and performed the Cincinnati Bengals song, Fear, Die, Tiger.
I remember that. It featured some Bengals players trying to rap.
Yeah, hilariously. And then a year later, he sang Martial Law, the theme song for the Cincinnati Marshals indoor football team. He wasn't just some distant star. He was like the city's musical ambassador.
He even opened a club there for a while. Bootsy's.
Yeah, in 2008, a restaurant and club called Bootsy's. It only ran for a couple of years, 2008 to 2010, but it was more than just a venue. They had live acts and even a little museum dedicated to his career.
Cool. But maybe the biggest evolution in this later part of his career started around 2010 when the Funk Master became Professor Bootsy.
Funk University, or Funk U. Yeah, an online-only bass guitar school.
And this wasn't just him slapping his name on something, right? It was a serious project.
No, not at all. He launched it with Corey Danziger and was genuinely the curator and lead professor. It offered a pretty intense, structured curriculum aimed at intermediate to advanced bass players.
What kind of stuff did they teach?
Well, the philosophy connected right back to his own journey. It covered rigorous bass theory, the actual history of funk, giving context, and details from Bootsy's own musical life.
Nice.
And he brought in top-tier guest professors, too. People like Victor Wooten, Les Claypool. Real masters who understood the funk groove inside and out.
So he was consciously passing on those lessons he learned from James Brown, the discipline, the search for the one, but packaging it for modern musicians online. Shame it ended in 2021.
Yeah, it was a great resource. But the really big turning point in this era came in January 2019. That was the moment that really signaled his shift from being primarily a player to being a dedicated mentor.
Right. He announced his retirement from playing live.
Yeah. And it wasn't just like fading away. It was a necessary health decision. He specifically mentioned too much pressure on my inner ear and right hand as the reason he had to step back from the physical demands of playing bass live on stage night after night.
That makes sense. Touring is grueling.
Totally. But the key thing was the funk wasn't retiring. He made it super clear his focus would shift entirely to studio work and coaching. He said he'd become a coach for up-and-coming musicians.
Okay.
And he assured everyone that Cher Ping 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 will continue to funk from the studio, but not live playing bass on stage. It felt like a very conscious choice to put his energy into propagation, into teaching, rather than just performance.
And that focus on mentoring kind of perfectly set the stage for that big pop culture moment in 2021 with Silk Sonic, didn't it?
Absolutely. The Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak project, An Evening with Silk Sonic. Bootsy wasn't just a guest. He was the special guest host and narrator for the whole album.
Right, threading it all together.
Yeah, using his charisma, those spoken interludes, acting like the DJ guiding you through this classic R&B experience. It was perfect casting.
And the sources confirm he wasn't just hired to talk. He actually came up with the name Silk Sonic for them.
Yep. He coined the name, which really solidifies his role as this kind of creative muse, this guiding spirit for the next generation doing funk and soul revival.
His voice just kept reaching new places, too, like voicing a radio DJ in Grand Theft Auto V in 2013.
Yeah, that was huge. The game featured a bunch of his songs, too, so he's introducing his grooves to this massive, modern, often younger gaming audience. He stayed relevant.
Okay, so we've tracked the artist, the innovator, the mentor. Let's dig into Section 5. The Bootsy Blueprint, the lasting legacy, those iconic instruments in more detail, and his philanthropic work.
For sure. And we got to circle back to the gear. Bootsy is just visually inseparable from his basses, especially that custom star-shaped one built by Manny Salvador in '98. That thing is his cosmic stage persona.
And other companies picked up on that iconic look, right? Traven Guitars did the Bootzilla signature model.
Yep, inspired by his look. And more recently, Warwick, the high-end bass company, they've done customized versions of their Infinity basses for him. You see the Bootsy Collins Black Star signature bass, the Orange Star signature bass. They aren't just instruments, they're like functional sculptures designed to project that specific Bootsy image.
And his cultural legacy. I mean, his name is basically shorthand for deep funk bass. It's the benchmark.
Totally. You see it in song lyrics. Tom Clubb's Genius of Love from '81 explicitly says, Clinton's musicians such as Bootsy Collins raise expectation to a new intention. He's named as someone who literally raises the bar.
Wow.
And in hip-hop, the Fugees used him as the ultimate measure of bass depth in Rumble in the Jungle. The line is, got more bass than Bootsy Collins. You can't get a higher compliment as a bass player. That's it.
That really says it all. And visually, his style influenced so many.
Yeah.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers always cites him.
Yeah. Flea consistently points to Bootsy as a primary influence. And you see it in the Down in California video. Flea's dressed in that unmistakable Collins style, the rhinestones, the wild colors. The influence is right there.
He's so iconic, he even gets parodied, right? Like on SNL.
Exactly. Affectionate parody, though. The sources mentioned his vocal style got spoofed in a 2011 Saturday Night Live sketch called The Essentials. Jay Farrow played a character named Dr. Blackenstein.
Yeah, like Dr. Funkenstein.
Exactly. A clear nod to the Parliament album, The Clones of Dr. Funkenstein, which Bootsy played on. It just shows how deep the P-Funk universe and Bootsy's part in it is lodged in pop culture memory.
What's really inspiring, though, especially lately, is how he's channeled all that musical and cultural clout into actual philanthropic work.
Yeah, he's really focused on music education and community building. He's an honorary board member for Little Kids Rock. He visited one of their programs back in 2011, donated a bass, actually sat down and gave the kids a lesson.
That's great. But the most recent big thing is the Funk Not Fight movement, right? This feels like a really significant evolution of his whole philosophy.
It really does.
Yeah.
He kicked it off with his wife, Peppermint Patty Collins, in May 2023. They launched it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
Okay.
And the core mission is simple but powerful: to calm the violence with the power of music and dance. It's about using the organizing power of funk, of groove, to tackle social issues head on.
How does it work in practice?
They're setting up chapters, running events focused on community engagement, conflict resolution, all using music and dance as the tool. They've got efforts going in places like Compton, Detroit, New York, and of course his home base in Cincinnati.
That's amazing, taking the power of the one into the community.
Exactly. And this dedication to using funk for public service, it's gotten major recognition. In 2024, Bootsy and Patty Collins jointly received the U.S. Presidential Lifetime Achievement Awards and honorary gold medal.
Wow, presidential awards.
Yep, specifically for their philanthropic work, highlighting the Funk Not Fight movement. It's a remarkable capstone to a career already full of honors. The National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame in 2016, the Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame in 2023.
Just incredible. So, okay, if we try to wrap this whole massive journey up, we basically see three major eras defining Bootsy Collins.
Yeah, I think so. First, there's the foundation, that rigorous, essential funk he mastered in that intense 11-month crucible with James Brown, learning the absolute meaning of the one.
Right. Then second, the cosmic exploration, the wild, brilliant theatrical explosion with P-Funk and Bootsy's rubber band, building the whole mythology, the alien rock star, the star-shaped sound.
And finally, the third era, the master collaborator and mentor, navigating decades of music, funk, metal, pop, electronic, while consciously shifting his focus from being on stage to guiding others in the studio and through activism.
What really stands out looking at the whole arc is that conscious choice he made in 2019. He didn't just fade out. He intentionally redirected his life's work. He moved his energy away from physically playing the bass live towards teaching through Funk University and leading the Funk Not Fight movement.
Yeah. It raises a really powerful question about legacy, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if the architect of funk himself, the guy who literally defined the low end for generations, decides his most important work now is teaching the principles of rhythm and using that rhythm for social good, is that like the ultimate evolution of hitting the one?
Interesting way to put it.
Is passing on that fundamental rhythm, that funk, that positivity, is that a more profound legacy now than just performing it himself?
Definitely something to think about for all you Funketeers listening.
Yeah.
The true power of the rhythm.
Yeah.
That was the deep dive into the one and only Bootsy Collins.
Deep, bit funky.
Get you next time.